What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with another episode of Off the Cuff. Now, initially, this was going to be a topical video. This was going to be a video about the steroid implications that have been lobbed at Roman Reigns, and, you know, I was going to kind of partner it up with the accusations of Jey USO getting ticketed for drinking and driving, but I thought that's really fucking negative. And I thought that there's one person really in this whole scenario, in this whole, like, you know, Samoan family situation that's really being left out of the conversation, and that's Jimmy Uso. So I thought instead, while other people are already doing their videos, you know, hey, here's what I think about what Roman did or didn't do, here's what Jey did or didn't do, I thought I would do a video on how Jimmy Uso could make the most of this situation and how WWE could use Jimmy Uso to make the most of this situation. So this... laugh if you want, I'm going to let you get it all out right now. This is how I would book Jimmy Uso to the Universal Championship. Okay, so now to do this, you have to include people's real lives into their storylines, and that's something that really bugs a lot of people. I want to state right here and now that this is not in any way meant to disrespect Roman Reigns, the real person behind Roman Reigns, or Jey Uso, the real person behind Jey Uso. I'm taking this from the perspective of inputting what they happened in their real life into a fictional storyline. So anybody that's offended by that, here's your fair warning, because it's going to be sort of the stimulus of this whole story. So obviously we would go to Monday Night Raw. We would have the announcement that Kurt Angle, you know, with a heavy heart, has to suspend Roman Reigns, you know, relinquish the IC title, the whole bit, because of his interactions and how they make the Raw brand look or anything like that. SmackDown would start with the Usos and Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan watching a replay from Monday Night Raw, and basically Shane and Daniel Bryan saying, look guys, you know, Jey, you know, we can't not act on what you've done, especially after Raw just did what they did to Roman Reigns. We have to strip you guys of the tag team championships, and Jey, you are also suspended indefinitely. They turn their attention to Jimmy. They apologize. They understand what a horrible situation this is. You know, your brother's in trouble, your brother's suspended, your cousin's in trouble, your cousin's suspended. You know, you just lost a title for things that are not your fault. We're sorry to hear about that. We will support you in any way you can as a single person on the SmackDown roster. And Jimmy just goes right downhill. We then go other places backstage. We see all the other tag teams that have been, you know, taken out by the Usos, because the Usos have really dominated tag team wrestling on SmackDown for the past little while. So you get Chad Gable, Shelton Benjamin, who else? You get Rusev Day, you get the Ascension, you get the Bludgeon Brothers, and they're all sort of licking their lips and rubbing their hands together. You know, one of the Usos is gone, we're going to take out the other one in short order. And then we go to the women's locker room, where Naomi is plotting for her own well-being and talking to, you know, Charlotte and Becky and saying, you know what, if he can't pursue his tag team career right now because Jay's gone, the very least he can do is help me with my career. And Charlotte and Becky look at her kind of in disgust and be like, hey, you know, we didn't think you were like that. So Naomi goes and finds Jimmy, tries to pump him up, tries to reinvigorate him for their first round match in the Mixed Match Challenge. They then go on to the first round of the Mixed Match Challenge and lose. Naomi is distraught because, as I've said, the Mixed Match Challenge is great. It does a whole lot more for the women than it does for the men, and this is Naomi's big shot, this, you know, big redemption for her. She's lost it. She blames Jimmy, even though she's the one that took the pin. She calls him a loser. She walks out on him, etc., etc., etc. So from this point on, commentary and everybody involved in the storyline would really be reinforcing the fact that Jimmy Uso has nobody left. He lost his tag team partner. He's got nobody by his side. His brother's gone. He lost his cousin, you know, who I'm sure WWE would tell you the story that the Usos look up to Roman Reigns and his success. So he's got nobody beside him. He's got nobody to look up to. And he just lost his woman because she went off on her own selfish way. Now, it's not a dig at Naomi. It's just how my story goes. So chill. So then you go on and you see him take on all the people that the Usos destroyed in tag team competition. You have Jimmy Uso lose to Aiden English, come back the following week, get mocked for it, then lose to Rusev. And you see him, each time he comes to the ring, he's a little less energetic, a little less confident, a little less Uso. So you see in the back, He's, you know, recovering from his losses. He gets a pep talk from Booker T. They bring in all the old elements of, you know, they were in Booker T's, you know, wrestling academy. He saw him come up. He knows that he can be better than this. You know, you can do this. Your family's not here right now, but I'm sure they're behind you from wherever they are. I'm behind you. I know what you can do. Just go out there and do it. Then he goes on to lose to Benjamin. Then he goes on to have a match with Chad Gable, and they have a match that, you know, burns the ring down. It's great. He has a couple quick hope spots, but does eventually lose the match. Now, the internet blows up about this match. The internet blows up. WWE blows up. WWE.com, you know, names it as an early favorite for match of the year, which is great, but in Jimmy's mind, all that attention does is put more and more and more attention on him losing. And then he gets a pep talk from Tamina. They go back to the original days of the Usos, how Tamina came in with them. They were all a team. They were all family. You know, she knows how strong he can be. Basically the same pep talk that Booker T gave him, but from a very different perspective. Jimmy, with all these losses, slides down the card. I mean, English and Rusev take the momentum of beating one of the Usos 2 weeks in a row. They go on to have a tag team title opportunity. Benjamin and Gable, they go off of that momentum, and they insert themselves into the tag team title picture. Jimmy, on the other hand, slides down the card, and things really start to get drastic. He doesn't come out typical Usos attire. He starts losing his personality a bit, to the point where he's almost the way he was when they first debuted in WWE. He's just coming out in, you know, generic boots, generic trunks, no music. Nobody gives a shit when he comes out anymore, because there's such little expected of him. He loses to Zack Ryder. He loses to Sin Cara. Finally, in the back, Nia Jax shows up to give him some extra family, you know, support and whatever, and, you know, not so much of a, you know, hey, I'm here to support you, but like, hey, you know, snap out of it type thing. We know you're better than this. You know you're better than this. And he kind of like bites her head off a little bit just out of frustration. She walks away, but just as she leaves the room or the change room or the backstage area, whatever, he's like, all right, you know what? I know what you need, and I'll see you in a bit. The New Day see him, and they see this downfall that he's had, and they see, you know, he's not the guy that they were having 5-star matches with. So they all go up to him, they all offer him support, and he's like, look, man, you know, all through 2017 we burned down the house with you and your brother. I think the WWE universe needs to be reminded what a great talent you are. We want to go out there and help you show who Jimmy Uso is. So they said, why don't you come out and have a match with us? So he goes out, has a match with Big E, and loses. Big E, you know, helps him up at the end of the day. You know, here's your hand, helps him up, tries to raise his hand, tries to get the crowd to give a shit about him. They don't. He loses to Woods in a very similar fashion the following week. You know, he tries to make it fun. He tries to make it a, you know, a back and forth thing where he's not going to lay down for him, but he is going to give him a chance to, you know, have some opposition that can show what he can do. And he loses. And then Kofi Kingston finally says to his fellow teammates, you know, as sort of the veteran of the group, he's like, look, I know what he needs. Let me go face him tonight, and I think I can help him out. They go out. They have another great match. The announcers start referring to it as being as good as his match with Gable earlier in the month. Very back and forth. Very, you know, he almost gets his hope spots in once again. But Kofi Kingston, at the very last second, sort of looks at him as sort of like that mentor-student look-down type thing, and stops in the middle of the match and lies down. Voluntarily lies down for Jimmy Uso so that he can at least get a win under his belt. You know, it's a charitable move, but Jimmy does not take it that way. Jimmy has experienced so much loss at this point. He's lost, again, his brother, his cousin, his wife, his momentum, his personality, his confidence, his everything. And now to be patronized in that kind of way, or try to take a handout from a friend in that way from somebody that he thought respected him so much, he absolutely snaps. He absolutely stomps the living shit out of Kofi Kingston, beats him down, loses by disqualification. So he's still losing. The New Day come in, not to push him back or to do anything negative to him, but they do go in there to you know, pull Kofi Kingston out of the fire, so to speak. They you know, they back him down. They try to get him to calm down, man. Like, look, man, we know where you're at. We're not your enemy, all this kind of thing. But Woods finally looks at him and is like, hey, man, you want to get some of that aggression out? We could go one more time next week. And Woods beats him again. Shane and Daniel Bryan come, and they bring him into their office for a sit down. They They say, look, man, we know where you are. We have a lot of sympathy for you. We know what you're going through. But, I mean, you're not performing in the ring. You're not giving us anything that we can market. We're not, you know, your losing streak speaks for itself. We really don't have reason as your boss to give you anything. But there is a new United States champion, and it doesn't really matter who the United States champion is for this, but he says there is a new United States champion. We need to develop a new #1 contender for that. And I'm sorry, I lost my place for a second. But they say we are having a #1 contenders match, our #1 contenders battle royal, to see who gets the next United States championship match. Now, you haven't done anything to deserve to be in that battle royal. But the only qualification to be in that battle royal is to be some form of former WWE champion. And as one of our former best tag teams on this brand, we are offering you a shot in this battle royal. So they have the battle royal. The battle royal is great. The battle royal goes on for a long time, full of all of SmackDown's former champions, and it's all good. And Jimmy does win the match. He wins, and the last person he tosses out is Xavier Woods. He's posing in the ring. Xavier Woods sort of, you know, comes back in the ring, congratulates him, and, you know, sort of like that no hard feelings type thing, like, hey, you lashed out at us a little while ago, but we know what you're going through. We know you're not really mad at us. We're good. We're still friends, whatever. He leaves, and two people in hoodies and street clothes and whatever come from the crowd and attack Jimmy Uso from behind and beat the ever-loving shit out of him. Eventually, the hoods come off, and who is it? It's Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. And you don't hear them, they don't cut a promo really at that. They just literally beat the ever-loving shit out of Jimmy Uso. And the only thing, there's no microphone involved, there's nothing like that. All you get is the microphones on the cameras picking up them screaming at him, you know, you thought you were better than us, you thought you could do better than us, you know, you're a failure, this is your one fluke win, and we're gonna make sure you don't get any more, rah-de-rah-de-rah. And Kofi Kingston's, Jey Uso's friends, the New Day, do come back in defense of their friend. They do chase off Roman and Jey, but he's had the ever-loving shit kicked out of him. Now, go to the following week on SmackDown, and there's another beatdown to open up the show. Jimmy Uso talks about winning the Battle Royal, talks about, you know, thanking the New Day for their help and, you know, helping to try and preserve his one little moment, because this is his one little glimmering, hopeful moment in all this bullshit that he's been dealing with. But Jey and Roman Reigns beat him down once again, and the New Day makes the save once again. The general managers come out. They have Roman Reigns ejected from the building because he's not a SmackDown superstar, and they tell Jey to take the night off. He is removed, etc. Woods then comes out and says, look, man, we're good, and we don't want anything bad to happen to you. You're our friend. We respect you, but we are also competitors. You know. And Xavier Woods steps up and he says, in the past couple of weeks, we tried to help you, and helping you involved fighting you. I've beaten you twice, and I want to challenge you for that #1 contendership that you won last week, because I was the second last person out of that battle royal, and I've beaten you twice. I think I deserve a second shot at it. Jimmy obviously accepts. They go and they have their match, and he loses due to the injuries sustained at the hands of his cousin and his brother. Now, Xavier Woods goes on to the Royal Rumble to become United States champion, and Jimmy Uso, because of his spot on the card on SmackDown, isn't even part of Royal Rumble. And if that's not enough, the nail gets driven home even farther when his cousin Roman Reigns returns as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble and wins the Royal Rumble. So it's all bad. It's all really, really bad. But SmackDown has to roll forward. They have to roll towards their next pay-per-view, which is Elimination Chamber. You know, Roman Reigns is on Raw. They're working towards Fastlane. What happens at Fastlane doesn't really matter. He doesn't put his #1 contendership on the line, so he's got his title shot at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar already. But on SmackDown, they have to move towards the Elimination Chamber because they have to establish their #1 contender for AJ Styles. Now, Elimination Chamber means qualifying matches, and Jimmy loses a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber due to Jey coming in, distracting the referee, his opponent getting the win, and Jey just gives him a fucking beatdown after the match. Now, Daniel Bryan comes out, assesses the entire situation, and says, look, man, I can't give you another rematch to get into the Elimination Chamber because I shouldn't have even really given you the first one. But what I can do is I can give you a no disqualification match against your twin brother at Elimination Chamber. And that's when Jimmy goes to the back, and waiting for him in the locker room is The Rock. The Rock, who says, hey man, Nia called me, talked about all this shit, talked about everything that you've gone through, talked about all the struggles that you've been having, but also talked about the fact that you've sort of been a dick to a lot of people and been sort of snapping out at the people that are trying to help you. He condemns Jay and Roman for their actions, but hey man, you guys are all my cousins, but you know, they're being dipshits. I don't support anything that they're doing, but you gotta start recognizing the people that are trying to help you. I'm here, the New Day are here, Nia's here, Tamina's here, Booker even came over from Raw to come help snap you out of this. You gotta go and handle your shit. Jimmy then, with all that momentum behind him, you know, sort of reinvigorated a little bit, goes on to Elimination Chamber to defeat Jey Uso in a no-holds-barred match at the Elimination Chamber, which is all great. Jimmy calls out Woods on SmackDown after that win at Elimination Chamber. He's got the J bug off his back. Roman's back over on Raw. Jimmy calls out Xavier Woods with the same respectful tone. Jimmy and Xavier agree to have a match for the United States Championship, because in the back of his mind, even though it's been on and off and on and off, that United States Championship was that one goal in his mind. That Battle Royal was the one victory that sort of kept him hopeful and kept him going all those minutes ago, and it was Xavier Woods very, very tied into that experience. So obviously Xavier Woods is like, yeah man, you're my friend, you probably should have had this title shot, I'll give you a shot. Match never happens because Jay and Roman beat him down before the match can even get started. This time they do grab the mic, they cut a promo. It's like, hey man, I hope you don't think we were going to go anywhere, because we told you you couldn't survive without us. You thought you were better than us. You thought you didn't need us. Roddy rah. Now we don't need you, but we're not going to let you succeed. Jimmy disappears after this final beatdown. It's too much. He just isn't seen for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. He has no spot at WrestleMania. He's gone. The announcers, the commentators, constantly, whenever Jay has a match, they're just saying like, here's this guy that, you know, destroyed his brother. We haven't seen Jimmy in weeks and weeks and weeks. But Xavier Woods is the one that does stand up. Is like, you know what, I'm going to teach you a lesson for what you did to your brother, and if I have to put my United States Championship on the line at WrestleMania to do it, then I'm going to do it. Now we go through WrestleMania. Jimmy's still gone. Jimmy has to sit at home and watch WrestleMania on TV. He's so low on the card. But he watches. He takes the 1-2 punch of Jey Uso beating his friend Xavier Woods for the United States Championship that should have been his. And then he has to go on and see his cousin win the Universal Championship with his brother's help. So here's the two people that have tormented him having the two biggest moments that they possibly could on the biggest stage while he's sitting home. But we all know that the only other thing that's as big as WrestleMania in the WWE year is the Raw after WrestleMania. So after WrestleMania, Roman Reigns comes out with the Universal title, with a whole bunch of I told you so, acting like Jay didn't help him, acting like he's invincible. You know, I slayed the beast, I beat the man who was the one in 21-1. You know, there was only two people ever that beat The Undertaker, and it was me and Brock, but out of the two of us, I beat him. So now I'm the top of the mountain. I've beaten everybody. There's nobody in NXT. There's no legends. There's no Raw, SmackDown, NXT spread. Nobody can title. In fact, I'll throw my title on the ground right now and dare anybody to come pick it up. But first, I want to thank the guy who was a way better brother to me than his brother ever was to him in his entire life. And I want to get my boy Jay out here to thank him for his contributions. And then there's nothing. Silence. Calls him out again. He says, hey man, you know, I know we had a big party last night, but I know you should be awake back there. You got to come out and celebrate with me, because you're the other new champion. You're the other one out there right now making the family look good, whereas your brother doesn't. There's nothing. Finally, he calls out to the techs and he says, you know, somebody go find my brother. This is ridiculous. My cousin, sorry. This is ridiculous. We need to celebrate. And if he can't hear me calling him out, then it must be one of the techs' problems. The techs take a camera to the back where Jey Uso is laid out, broken, bloody, and the title plate has been snapped in half. We let that sink in for a minute or two, and then finally we hear music. Not one entrance music, not two entrance musics, but three. Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon, and Daniel Bryan all come out to the ring, and they want to take this opportunity on the Raw after WrestleMania to announce a big trade that they've made. Not only is this person a big trade to Raw, this person is getting a Universal title match tonight and then they call out Jey Uso. Kurt Angle follows it up with, hey, not only that, but if Jay's able to get up in the back, he's still barred from your match tonight. And Roman's like talking shit, oh, okay, you know, we'll just knock the referee out and that's fine. Well, there is one other guy left over from WrestleMania that would like to participate in this match, and I've given him a one-night referee's license. So tonight, in the main event, we're going to have Roman Reigns versus Jimmy Uso for the Universal Championship, with your special guest referee being The Rock. Roman and Jimmy have their match. It's very back and forth. Jimmy is entirely fueled by anger and vengeance and venom and every other, you know, metaphor you can possibly come up with. Jay does momentarily try to interfere in the match, but he eats a rock bottom in short order, and on the way to that, while that distraction is going down, Roman Reigns eats a Samoan drop, eats a Snuka splash, and Jimmy Uso is your new Universal Champion. And the Raw after WrestleMania goes off the air with Jimmy in the ring being held up on the shoulders of The Rock, Booker T, Nia Jax, Tamina, and the New Day, all the people that have supported him the entire way, carrying him around the ring like DX used to carry Mick Foley when he won his title. And it's all good. And that's how Raw closes. But if you're like me, if you're like you watching this right now, if you're anybody in the YWC, you know the very next place you're going to go after Raw goes off the air is to WWE.com to see if there are any WWE.com exclusives, you know, sort of what happened on Raw after the cameras went off the air. So you click on that little link and you get a video, and it starts right where Raw ended with all these, you know, friends and family and supporters of Jimmy Uso parading him around the ring. But they part because there's one other person that tries to come out and congratulate Jimmy, tries to come out and reconcile with him, tries to come out and say how much she loved him and she knew he could do it all along, and that's Naomi. And she sort of pie faces her and sort of walks away. Is like, no, you didn't want me when I was down, you can't have me when I was up, and let me inform you that you are permanently pardoned from the women's wing of the USO penitentiary. And that is followed up with Naomi taking a rock bottom from The Rock, a Samoan drop from Nia Jax, a bookend from Booker T, a big ending from Big E, an honor roll from Xavier Woods, a Trouble in Paradise from Kofi Kingston, and a double Snuka splash from not only Tamina, but Jey Uso as well. And that is how you book Jimmy Uso to successfully not only achieve the Universal Championship, but reinvigorate the whole Samoan dynasty. And I leave it to you now in the box below to tell me how fucking crazy I am. But I had a lot of fun doing this. If you guys want to see me do more stuff like this, please let me know down in the box below, because I did have a lot of fun doing this. And this is something that literally spurned from two pieces of really, really bad news and shows how really, really great you can come back from it. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.